Welcome to the Bonnie Forward Show. I am your host, Bonnie Forward, and people are always asking me. So I decided that I'm going to take a second to talk about myself a little bit and the lead up to introducing my next guest. Shameless plug alert. This is my book that I wrote many years back under the tutelage of my mentor, Lee Philip Bell, the late, great Lee Philip Bell, who, along with her husband, the incomparable William J. Bell, co-created both The Young and the Restless and The Bold and the Beautiful, the two highest rated soap operas in the world. I wrote this book all about the world of soap opera acting, and I called it Soap Opera Acting, the Ins and Outs of Daytime Drama. I first met the Bells 35 years plus. I know, I don't look it. At CBS Television City in Los Angeles when I used to frequently visit an actor friend of mine on the set of The Young and the Restless. It was before The Bold and Beautiful was created. I first met the Bells, and with their help and using all original scripts from their two shows, I went on to become the first and only acting coach in the country to have ever founded an acting school based and dedicated and focused solely on the art of acting in soap operas. Yes, there is a difference. It's always a treat when I get to interview soap actors, which I intend to do a lot more of, time permitting with them. And my next guest is no exception. It is my great pleasure to welcome back to the show a very popular actor on so many daytime and primetime soaps, Brian Gaskill. Brian was most recently seen playing the character of Seth on The Young and the Restless, where he portrayed an AA counselor to the devious villain Jordan, played by soap actor and veteran Colleen Zank. Later, we will also be discussing a film that Brian did a few years ago, A Bachelor's Valentine, which has been renamed and re-released under its new title, A Reluctant Heart, just in time for Valentine's Day. So, without further ado, welcome back to the show, Brian Gaskill. Hi, Brian. There you are. Hello, my
Hey,
friend. Hello, my friend.
how you
So,
doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm all right.
Well, let's jump in by telling us about your recent stint on The Young and the Restless.
Okay. Well, it was about a year ago now,
Mhm.
but um, yeah, it's funny. My character, as far as I'm concerned, his name was Seth, but the second I stopped doing the show, all of a sudden everybody was talking about him with the last name. And even on IMDb, he's listed with the last name. Although, like in the first week after I was gone, there were two different last names. I think they settled on Seth Morgan. So I don't know. I was like, Seth Morgan. I was like, where does the last name come from? I never had a last name. But anyway, so yeah, last November, I think, I did an audition for a part that was only meant to be 4 episodes. And
A year ago,
oh,
November, you mean?
a year ago from, yeah, last November. So
Uh-huh.
in 2023, November.
Mhm.
And I think I knew at the time it was going to be Nikki's AA sponsor, I think. But didn't know where it was going, although there were some hints in the first scene that he might eventually fall off the wagon, which is indeed what happened, and that's where it got interesting for me. And and then so I was just I it was my first time. I ended up booking it, and it was my first time back on a daytime soap in like 16 or 17 years.
Oh, wow. How did you
So
feel about the role?
I loved it. I loved it. I loved, I just kind of, when I had the audition, um, I mean, the thing about soap auditions is they've always been, soaps they have to write all year round, so you might get some scripts every so often that aren't quite what you were hoping they were going to be, because that's a lot of work to do, and they're doing the best they can. I get it, but the audition scenes are always awesome. so and that actually turned out to be my first day on the show pretty much. And quite often when you get a soap audition scene, it's nothing like anything you're going to end up doing on the show, but with this it was pretty much exactly my
Oh,
first day of
really?
work. Yeah, they changed some stuff because Victor was coming in the real scene, and so some of the lines were switched around and whatever. But it was pretty much exactly the same thing. I was really happy with the material. I was happy to be back on set again, and
I was going to
it's
ask you,
yeah, it's
how was it
it's
to
a
be back at
different.
CBS?
Well, the building is lonely and kind of cold and dark and weird, and they got rid of the commissary, and there's just like a it was never really busy, but you had prices right there before you had other stuff going on. So this time it just felt really lonely. And then Bold and the Beautiful is not in production all the time as much because they have a shorter show and they shoot a lot, I think, and they can be off for a week here and there all the time. And you go in and you shoot your scenes, and it goes faster than it ever has. And when it goes well, it's very exciting, and when it doesn't go well, you want to shoot yourself in the head because that's all you get. And 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 then you go home. It's and the block dress tape schedule has been, we did that on Port Charles as well. I and it's better for people with normal lives.
Absolutely.
But as a young actor in New York on All My Children in the '90s, I found the old schedule a lot more fun of creating a camaraderie, which was coming in early, doing the blocking, and then doing you're all sort of like running around doing makeup, doing your thing, and then we did a camera blocking for the whole freaking day,
Mhm.
then went to lunch, and then came back and did dress tape, dress tape, dress tape for the rest of the day. And sometimes until, like, back then they had the money, and sometimes if they weren't getting what they wanted, we were there until 10 o'clock at night.
Mhm. Mhm.
And just especially for a young actor in my 20s, that was like, it felt like, that was, you were doing theater, you were home, you were going to stay till it was right. And it was exciting. But
Well, what about when you were on Bold and Beautiful? Must have been the same
the same as what?
as blocking and taping.
No, you do. Basically, the way all the soaps work now is you're called in. Young and the Restless actually had two different call times, so they do
I was
a
just going
quick,
to say,
they
yeah, they
do a
do.
blocking on
Yep.
stage, and
Yep.
but most of the shows you just come to stage and you block just tape, block just tape, block just tape, and your
Right.
your calls are staggered just like on a primetime show based on when you're going to get into makeup, and then you're going to go to stage and work it out. So you come prepared and you come ready because you're not going to be sitting around your dressing room all day trying to learn your lines and stuff. Um, but this was, it was just very fast, and I had some good days. I had some day, and I talked to, it's funny, afterwards I was talking to some vets even before my time, and they all agreed that, like, no matter how good you are and no matter how professional you are, that and no matter how famous they were, it took them about 3 months before they were really comfortable.
Yeah.
And really, after I ended up doing 11 episodes, and by the 11th episode, when I was getting pushed in front of a car, I was there with Colleen, and I had a lot of really great scenes with Colleen, and we had a really great working repartee, and uh and I was just ready. Like, I was just like, okay, now I'm ready. Can we start now? Can we start
Yeah.
the show now?
Yeah.
And it's not that I didn't feel particularly, you're that's the actor's mind,
Right.
because I didn't feel like necessarily what I saw on TV was off, but in your heart, you feel like you're just holding it together sometimes, and you're just after a couple months, you finally get to the point where you're like, okay, I can relax and have fun now.
Yeah, you're in the rhythm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it like working with the marvelous Colleen Zank? Did you know her from New York and her stellar
No,
32 years on
I
As
was
the
on
World
As the
Turns?
World Turns. Yeah, I was on As the World Turns, and I didn't work with her there. I might have crossed paths with her, but she didn't remember whether I did or not. I was familiar with her. I
Nor did
walked.
you.
What's that? Nor did I what?
Nor did you. You didn't remember either whether you'd crossed paths with her.
I remember. No, I didn't remember, but I know, but I just because I know who she is and I know we were on the same show and we're all sort of in this daytime family. I tend to like, I feel like we're all like
Yeah.
cousins, and I
Yeah.
just and sometimes they're like, "Why are you talking to me? I don't know you," and I'm always like,
Because your
but
family.
but yeah, we kind of know each. I bumped in 20 years ago. We did the in-person judging for Emmys.
Oh, cool.
We you had to have a pre-nominee, and the pre-nominees made tapes, and then they had panels where you had to show up and they were forced to watch the tapes, because before that you didn't have to watch anything. So people who were getting nominated, you don't even know if anybody saw anybody's work. But my point is, I went over to Disney to watch these, to sit on this panel and watch these tapes, and I'd bump into actors who I definitely have never met from different shows,
Mhm.
and we would literally just start talking on the way to, like, as if we've just
Yeah.
been hanging out. Like we just know that we're all sort of like in the same little
Family. Yeah.
family. Yeah.
Family.
So
Uh,
I like that vibe.
why do you think Seth was killed off?
I don't know. It's not my show. It's Reading. You know, I think like you have to, you're on a show, you're not on contract, and they have to create drama and exciting things happen.
Yeah,
And
but besides that, why do you think he was killed off?
I mean, it's story related. What are you
Well,
trying to
it's
get at?
storyline driven, but I mean, do you, I mean, for example, now that we know
Are you
that,
trying to get controversial with me?
hardly.
I was a pain in the ass backstage. I started a fist fight with Victor Newman.
It just seemed to me, a viewer, um, as well as a soap opera acting coach, that it seemed to me to be a bit premature.
I'm not gonna.
Dignify might.
It's not safe for me to comment on that. It felt weird, but I don't
Well,
like. I mean,
I mean,
honestly, I got a script. The first script I got, I was meeting with Nikki and telling her I was going to rehab, and I was like, "Oh God, here we go. Guess I'm not sticking around." Which I knew, like, I knew it was. It wasn't even recurring when. I mean, it's technically recurring, but I knew that originally I was only had 4 episodes, and they said come back in January, do some more. And oh, I do know this. I'll tell you this. I don't know whether this is something they say. I don't know whether they want me to say. I don't know. But story wise, they did want, as odd as it was, since the guy freaking drinks, they wanted Peter to be her sponsor and to create that drama with Victor, and not Peter. Peter's the actor, but Peter Bergman.
right, all right. They want
So
Jack.
they
They
wanted to
wanted
bring
Jack
her. They needed to get rid of me as being an issue of whether I'm a sponsor or whatever.
and bring Jack Abbott into that.
Yeah, and then killing me is just makes it dramatic. I don't know. Maybe somebody there don't like me, but I don't think that's the case.
I don't think that's the case either.
Um,
It was
but
surprising to me. It was just
it
like all of a
was,
sudden,
yeah, it was abrupt, and it was almost, it was done well enough, but it was almost, it felt a little, it was kind of comic. It was so abrupt. And
well, that brings me to my next question or statement that now that we know that Jordan's accomplice, Ian Ward, is still alive, do you think there's any chance the writers at Y&R might find a way to bring you back?
I mean,
I mean, you
I
never
know like
found the
actors do
bodies.
these interviews all the time and they have to answer questions like this. And I haven't been on daytime in so long. I'm like, I don't know. I like,
That'd be fun.
honestly, like, I mean,
That would be fun.
it could happen. I mean, I had people who, what's funny is like when you come as on as a new character on daytime, and now we're in this world of social media and people commenting on everything. We all know with this and everything else, the people who are the loudest first are the people who want to complain. So at first, I just thought, well, this isn't going well. No, everyone thinks I'm weird. They think I'm creepy. I'm not trying to be creepy. What the hell? Oh, I smile too much. Whatever. The second I got pushed in front of a car, my X account, which I got rid of since then, but my Twitter /X / whatever account blew up with all the people who were so angry and so disappointed that I wasn't going to be on the show anymore. And I
I
was
love
like,
it.
well, where were you people?
I
But
love
it's true, like the normal people who just have nice things to say have no reason to go online and talk about it. They have nothing to bitch about. Um,
You had a
and
fan base you didn't even know you had.
right, and everybody definitely thought it was very abrupt and strange and weird, and but that's my mother, who's watched the show off and on, especially because her sister, who was watching it, who her sister passed away fairly recently, but she was watching because of her, and she said, and again, I'm just stating a fact. I'm not trying to criticize the show, but she said they often bring on old soap stars that look like they're going to be coming on the scene, and within like 2 to 4 months kill them dead because they're not on contract, and it creates drama. And apparently she pointed out 3 or 4 examples in the last few years. um
Interesting.
so I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's not my show, and I was grateful to be back, and kind of throw myself in that. And it moves so fast. You work with these different directors, all different vibes every day. It's exciting. And there was a part of me that I definitely I didn't even need to be put on contract. I just wanted to be like, oh yeah, come back some more, just show up occasionally, whatever, just work my way in, whatever. Of course, every actor wants to work.
Of
I
course.
get, of course, but it's everything. I think, for whatever it is, it happened for a reason, and that's what it is. Whatever's around the corner is because that happened. But I don't know.
Well,
I had
I
people.
think
I had people like, his twin brother should show up and try to find out what happened to his brother. And it was and that idea was interesting to me only because, like, when I went and played Seth, in some ways it felt really like I was being really natural. But then I realized after the fact I was being really natural. Sometimes I end up realizing that I was acting a lot more than I thought I was, because I created a character more than I thought I did. And what you do is it feels real, because for me, I pull out part of myself. So for that, being, a character who is an alcoholic, and being uncomfortable, and also I was very safe with it. I wasn't like one of these guys who came in, I mean, for better or worse. I mean, everyone's like, you got to create the romantic chemistry, but I didn't feel that was in the script. And I wasn't trying to, like, I was trying to be someone who was absolutely believable as just a friend to Nikki, and someone who was comfortable, just and awkward, and all this stuff. And then once it's over, you're like, God, you look so uncomfortable and nervous and whatever. And I'm like, that's the part I was playing. I realized afterwards. And then it would be really cool to come on and all of a sudden be this, like, kind of tongue-in-cheek asshole, like, cop guy who just wants to get to the bottom of it, and show that confidence side that
Mhm.
I have, and
Mhm.
and different. And I guess at that, it sounds so stupid, but I realized I sort of tricked myself. And it's almost like in real life, in real life, we tell ourselves a mythology of who we think we are,
Mhm.
and we create sometimes bad things from that.
Mhm.
So in the same way, I go to play a part, and I'm like, okay, this is who the part is. This is who I'm going to be, and I feel like I'm just being me. So I think that's, and I'm like, oh, that's not me. That's just a part of me. And
Well,
I'm
that's
deaf.
acting.
Of course. I mean, I'm stating the obvious maybe, but it just felt like I was really excited to do that. But then I was like, okay, I did that. So what's next? And
But
what's exciting, what's the best part about the soap opera jobs in general, when you're on a long-term contract,
Mhm.
is eventually, I guess depending on, in the past, sometimes it seemed like you stayed maybe in a cookie cutter box, but the truth is, if it works right and you're a good enough actor, what ends up happening is you play so many different kinds of stories, and you play so many different types of parts of your
Yeah,
character that you bring
exactly.
out. So you're
Exactly.
able to, like, create all this diversity over the
That's right.
years, emotionally and
Absolutely.
physically, and
Absolutely.
you can explore different things that you would
Yeah.
never more so like on a primetime show, it would be more like you have to be this one thing, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
So, so
Well,
this,
especially if
so
you're not given any backstory. You weren't given any backstory about Seth.
right. Well, and that's the other thing. There's another super crazy thing that happens now that didn't used to happen. All these, I love them and they're so supportive of me. All the sort of online soap opera magazines and stuff, and I have good relationships with them, and it's been great. However, one of the weird things that happens with some of them, in order to create press or create like stories and stuff, they do this thing where they tell rumors of what's going to happen with the story, but they literally didn't hear it anywhere.
What do you
So
mean? Do you mean they conjure up a
yeah, they make
backstory?
stuff up to make it exciting for the viewers to be like, oh, could this happen? Could this happen? Could this happen? But
Yeah.
they almost say it sometimes like they heard a rumor, like it's really going to happen. And one of who's the really pretty dark haired girl on the
Of
show?
which one?
Younger, like ingenue. She'd only been on it for like a year last year.
Oh, the one that plays Jordan. Well, now
No, 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 no.
Jordan
She was
daughter.
working as Nikki's assistant for a while.
Yeah, the one that
And
plays Jordan's daughter.
no, no, not
I mean,
her.
not daughter. A niece.
No,
Jordan's
no,
niece.
no, no, not her. This is dark, like raven haired, almost Latin looking girl. Anyway, they were saying I forget what her character's name is or her name, but there were rumors online that I was going to end up being her father, who she always talked about as being an alcoholic. But then there was a scene where we were in the same room together, and she didn't recognize me, and I went, "Oh, I guess that story wasn't true." So there was like so the audience. What I'm kind of getting at is the audience. If the writers aren't making the backstory, the audience is trying to figure it all out beforehand and be like, "What's really going on here?" And they also thought I was like scheming Nikki the whole time,
Of course.
and I guess I just come off that way to people.
No, it's
And
because there was no backstory.
right, so
So
they're
the
like, he's
audience is left
creepy.
to,
He's going to
yeah,
screw her over, and
yeah. The audience is left to come to their own conclusions. And
and
I've
at the
always
end,
said they're the best writers. Even
yeah, and at the end of the day, it ended
viewing
up
audience.
being just a very, besides me getting pushed in front of a car, ended up being just kind of a very quick
Did you?
arc, very straightforward
Hmm.
AA story.
Hmm. Hmm.
And someone falling off the wagon. That was my little arc. And that's what I was as abrupt as the ending was,
Hmm.
I was very pleased with the fact that really even in that I it felt like a complete arc that I was able to go through.
But since we, the viewers, didn't see your body, we just
Right.
heard and saw Jordan react.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, I guess you never know.
that's why I'm saying now that we know that
But
Ian
like
covered.
I think this new show shooting at Atlanta Beyond the Gates, I think it's going to take off. And
Very
and
exciting.
whether it's going to be just specifically because of that show or not, it's going to create like people going, "Oh, what else can we do? What else can we do?" It might not be the networks, it might be streaming. When they started when the company Prospect Parks tried to do the streaming and stuff in the beginning, when All My Children, One Life to Live were let go, it was too soon. People weren't ready. But now I think, I mean, half the people are watching Young and the Restless on Paramount Plus anyway. So I think it's just going to be about not daytime, but just, if it's a story that people want to watch and you can get excited about, I mean, people are going to find it. And if the show works, if the new show works, you know, it might not work with other people, but based on the way business works in Hollywood, if it works, there's going to be other people trying to be like, how can we do
Of
ours?
course, of
So
course.
so I'm just excited about the idea of just any scripted stories being told and in front of a camera and
Great.
being out there wherever.
Well, we love that. So, on that note, let's move on to A Reluctant Heart, where you play the lead character,
Mm-hmm.
Paul Batchelor, and brilliantly, I might add.
Thank you.
It's a terrific film. It really is. Why the name change and
Right. So that's something I want to talk
relief?
about. That in the beginning, I kept telling people this movie's coming out of Reluctant Heart. And I didn't really want to get into the drama every time. So I'll do that with you and that'll be the end of it. Reason is what I'm seeing happening now. Even if you Google A Reluctant Heart, often A Bachelor's Valentine comes up
Exactly.
and the old poster comes up and people are getting confused. Well, I just want to say publicly for the record, it's the same movie with a different title. I believe the name change is because A Bachelor's Valentine was so specific to the holiday of Valentine's Day, um, that it kind of makes people feel like, unlike Christmas is like a whole season, so all these Christmas movies just are huge
Right.
and run all the time.
Right.
Valentine's Day is very quick, so it was a tiny window. The first time they released it, they did it sort of completely independently, and it ended up dropping like a month after Valentine's Day. And it
Hmm.
was kind of like, okay, what's the point now? There's this movie called Bachelor's Valentine, and then they decided to pull it, and then they were gonna get a proper distributor. So, which is what happened. They ended up, for this movie and numerous other of their productions, they have another distributor
Okay.
being put out properly now, and the title change, I think, was just to make it more accessible. Like if I were flipping through and I saw A Reluctant Heart and it was April, I still might click it on to watch. It'll be a
Yeah.
nice dramedy,
Yeah.
romantic movie,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I wouldn't be concerned with whether or not it is Valentine's Day. But if I saw Bachelor, I thought it was a cool idea. When I first saw the title Bachelor's Valentine, I thought, it was great. It's, what it is right away. It's a good idea. His name's Paul Bachelor. I get it.
Yeah.
And then
Exactly.
and then it creates like, oh, there could be other movies. It could be A Bachelor's Christmas, A Bachelor's this, A Bachelor's Wedding, about whatever.
Mhm.
But as we find out often, and a lot of these, it happens a lot. I've seen a lot of smaller independent films that I think is named one thing, and
Mhm.
then I go online and look for it. It's like some small thriller film noir from the '90s. All of a sudden has a different title. Um, and it happens. It's just,
You could have been playing Paul Batchelor until you're 95.
yeah. I mean, you'd have to have the money behind it to keep doing that. But and I would, and I've said often that I would have liked to have at least done a few more or played this character like this.
Yeah.
The vibe of this TV or the vibe of this movie is like, would be like my dream TV show. And
Yeah. Yeah.
a fan actually wrote a fan review, and they were comparing it to Gilmore Girls and Northern Exposure. And
Hey,
that was, I was, that was really nice.
yeah, that
And
is fun.
I really like the idea that, like, even though it primarily focuses on the main romantic relationship, that if you really broke it down into a long TV series, you would have all these quirky characters all over town, and
Well,
that
you
would
could
be
have Paul Batchelor gets divorced and seeks another wife.
right. Well, it's nonstop. It's nonstop fun. Just like life, it becomes the Truman
There are
Show.
endless possibilities for Paul Batchelor.
Right. I'll just move to Ohio,
There you
and you could just film me
go.
in like a reality TV show,
Well, I ran
thinking thinking I actually am Paul Bachelor, and I've
exactly.
lost my mind completely. And I don't know cameras are following me. I'm completely unaware cameras are following me.
And private detectives.
Right, exactly.
Well, I ran into one of your co-stars, Vernon Wells, the other day. It was actually a couple weeks ago. He was a guest at the Hollywood show in Burbank, and we briefly
Hmm.
discussed it. But he didn't offer up any reasons of his own as to why the name change.
I mean, he probably doesn't know, and he also probably doesn't think about things as much as I do. I probably overthink things and try to figure stuff out, and
Well, he had
I'm Aquarian, and I'm analyzing stuff all
there
the
you
time.
go. There you go. Well, he had some choice words, but I can't repeat them on camera. But
About changing the title?
yes,
Oh, he wasn't happy about it.
no,
Oh,
or a,
yeah,
more of a, who the knows?
yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
get it.
He's a tough guy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's an Aussie, so there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Diminish the amazing message. I mean, there were multiple messages, I thought, in that film. I mean, it doesn't diminish any of those. They were, on so many levels. But I know that everybody's curious when these things happen, and you know, um, so nothing has changed in the film at all, right? None of you went back and redid any.
No, no. I mean, just the title looks different in the same exact place, but instead of saying Bachelor's Valentine, it says A Reluctant Heart. And at
Okay,
the end of
so
the day, I mean, I've commented on that. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, and I don't care. And it's
mhm,
just it's a
mhm.
sweet little film, tells the same story. The title's irrelevant.
Well, for anybody who hasn't seen it, where can they stream it, Brian?
Okay, so right now today, it's already on Apple TV. You
Hmm.
can rent it, you can buy it. It's on Fandango at home, the same. And it's going to slowly roll out, hopefully completely before Valentine's Day. It'll be on Amazon Prime
Okay.
um, before sometime this week.
Well, I know
I
that A Bachelor's, as we discussed, A Bachelor's Valentine is up on YouTube, but with this new renaming and re-release, what's the best way for our audience to access the film
it's
and
it's
not
not
get
on
that
the
confusion?
movie. The movie's not the trailer is on YouTube, but the movie's not on YouTube.
No, I mean the A Bachelor's Valentine pops up.
Right. Well, there's no
I don't want
confusion
to
except
confuse
I mean,
anybody.
I mean, look, this is not Transformers. It's not. We're not like. It's not a huge movie release.
This is
So,
not wicked.
and I don't know how many people even see this and me talking about it, but just who anybody sees this, just know that like the movie's called The Reluctant Heart. When you look it up, you might see a lot of information about a movie called The Bachelor's Valentine. It's exactly the same movie. We're not the first people to run into this. It happens all the time. And at the end of the day, I'm just letting you know it's the same movie. So click it on. What you're going to find now, the only thing you're going to find when you watch the movie now, is a movie called A Reluctant Heart. However, when I looked it up on Roku last night, A Bachelor's Valentine came up. But you're going to click on Bachelor's Valentine and it's going to bring you to A Reluctant Heart. And
Okay.
this sounds way more complicated than it really is. Just trust yourself, trust your gut, trust your instincts. I believe in you. You can find it.
Go with it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's wonderful. And, I'm just delighted that it's, resurrected, if you will.
Yeah.
Because it's a wonderful film, Brian, and you're so good in it. You know,
Thank you.
well, I mean it. Like I say, there are, so many levels of messages in it, and you portray that heartfelt, um, pardon the pun or pun intended, the feels that you bring, the emotional depth that you bring to Paul Batchelor are so relatable because everybody, men and women both have those, deep-seated questions and turmoils and all the things, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
you portray. And, the hesitations and the go for it's and the people, chatting in your ear, and telling you what they think you should do. And then wondering
Yeah.
if that's really what you should do. And, all those kinds of things, they're all in there, Brian. And I love it. I just love
Thank
it.
you.
Speak enough about it. So, hopefully Paul Valentine doesn't find himself going in front of a car and
Paul
get,
Batchelor. Paul Batchelor.
I mean, Paul Batchelor. There you go. See? Paul Batchelor doesn't find himself in front of a moving vehicle.
No, exactly. Exactly. I thought that whole getting hit by, I don't know, you're probably aware of this and I've talked about it, but I thought the whole thing was so shocking and weird that like when I posted that scene online, I put I did it with a Rick roll,
Uh-huh.
which is Rick, you know what that is? So Rick Astley is a singer and he sings the song Never Gonna Give You Up, Never Gonna Make You Now. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes you're watching like a trailer or something, and in the middle of it, all of a sudden the video for that song will pop up. And they called that a Rick roll. So I made a little short video of that last final part of the scene, and she comes over and pushes me, and it cuts right to Astley
I love
doing
it.
Never Gonna Give You Up. So yeah, he definitely didn't die because Rick Astley came on and sang and saved the day.
See, we never know. We
Right.
never know.
Right.
You could be written right back in. I love it. Well, we've come to the end of the show, and I want to thank you, Brian Gaskill, for once again being a most wonderful guest.
Well,
I
thank you.
love you,
I
my
hope I didn't say, if I said anything too controversial, I hope nobody writes about it.
You did not. And if
Okay.
you did, I hope somebody does write about it.
I know, but then I end up looking like a jerk,
But
but
no,
whatever.
but bad press is better than no press. You know that in this business.
Yeah. Then you get to do more talk shows to explain yourself.
Which is even better. More press, more press, more press.
I guess.
Well, I love you, my friend.
Love you too.
And as always, love and light to all of you out there. And peace out.